CBS News correspondent Errol Barnett was on the same flight as the president's daughter Ivanka and son-in-law Jared Kushner Tuesday evening when he tried to ask Kushner a question. Errol recorded the interaction.
Errol Barnett with CBS. Any comment on? This is credential. I don't give a damn. It's a comment.
And Errol joins me now on the phone. Errol, what is it specifically that you were trying to ask Jared Kushner?
Well, Elaine, with news out of the White House that Jared Kushner, along with National Security Advisor John Bolton, spoke with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia roughly 1 week ago, we wanted to know effectively what Jared Kushner made of the Crown Prince and the King of Saudi Arabia's denials to Secretary of State Pompeo that the kingdom had anything to do with the death of Washington Post contributor Jamal Khashoggi. And we rarely get to see Jared Kushner in public. It is not common for he or his wife Ivanka Trump to make themselves available to the media unless it is a carefully staged interview. So when I saw both Jared and Ivanka getting on the plane in Washington, D.C., escorted by Secret Service, I thought to myself, now is as good a time as any to get the reaction from Jared Kushner on his response to these Saudi denials that they had anything to do with the suspected death of Jamal Khashoggi. I did not, as you see, get an answer to that question.
And do we know, Errol, what they were doing on that flight heading to New York?
Well, it's not uncommon for Jared and Ivanka Trump to make their way back to New York, where they have a home and are more comfortable. One thing that we've noted in Washington is that anytime very negative headlines seem to be swirling around the White House, conveniently, Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner are out of town and are seen kind of in other places. But what's key about Jared Kushner and his thinking is that he has been a major proponent of forging ties with Saudi Arabia. Jared Kushner, early on in the Trump administration, went to Riyadh to meet with officials. He laid the groundwork for the first major overseas trip of President Trump when he went to Saudi Arabia on a swing through the region, and was a major player as far as setting up the $110 billion arms deal with Saudi Arabia, which is now under threat because of the suspected actions of the royal family against Jamal Khashoggi. So he is a key figure within the administration and an important individual when it comes to understanding the president's thinking, especially at this time when there are so many questions as to how the U.S. would respond if Saudi Arabia is found to be at fault. So, you know, the Secret Service officer said to me there is a time and a place for these types of interviews. I have to make the point that it's unclear what time and place that would be to ask Jared Kushner questions.
Yeah, absolutely. As you note, he has been a key advisor, particularly with respect to this question of Saudi Arabia. Just as a side note, Errol, I'm curious about the protocol here in terms of the Secret Service. Is that something that's typical of the way in which Secret Service agents react to reporters shouting or asking questions, rather?
It's certainly not something that I've seen before, and many of our folks in our D.C. bureau who saw this video along with my account of what happened said it's extremely unusual. One source of mine who works inside the U.S. Secret Service says this is actually a violation of protocol because the mandate for the Secret Service is to protect the individuals it is assigned to from any danger. There is, of course, a First Amendment right which allows people in the press to ask public officials who are working on behalf of the American taxpayer questions about what they're doing, no matter where that is. And, you know, as long as you identify yourself and you're respectful of where they're going and what they're doing, there is no need for the Secret Service to intervene. So it's unclear if this is an absolute violation of U.S. Secret Service policy. But what's interesting, I tweeted this video out and simply said what happened. It really has struck a nerve with with many Americans who feel as if this administration specifically is much less transparent when it comes to being available to answer questions from the press. Press Secretary Sarah Sanders, for example, has not held a White House press briefing in some time. So there is a sense among people who have seen this video that this is par for the course when it comes to the Trump administration. But as always, as journalists, we continue to try to get answers to our questions every single day.
Right, and we should note as well that members of the president's own party, including Senator Lindsey Graham, have expressed their dissatisfaction with the way in which Saudi Arabia has tried to explain or not explained, in their view, what actually happened to Jamal Khashoggi. Errol Barnett for us. Errol, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Sure, anytime.